Well, is that a lesson learned? Kind of the moral of the story there is that social networking can be a good thing, but is it possible that it can also become too much of a good thing? Well, the young adults of St. Patrick's Cathedral tackled that question recently. They did so the old-fashioned way, offline and face-to-face, at a recent Theology on Tap.
To be able to communicate with people all around the world in a much quicker fashion is a very good thing. But what becomes the difficulties? What becomes the point where we really start to lose on this?
The gathering tonight here to hear our third session of Theology on Tap here in New York City. Tonight's speaker is Father Jordan Kelly, and what he's going to talk to us tonight is about Facebook and social networking, and how should Catholics react to these new forms of social media.
How much of our day is spent in constant mental stimulation, that to slow down and to just really be present to another person, let alone to God, becomes tremendously difficult.
The Holy Father, when he calls us to use technology to reach the world, particularly to reach the young, I mean, it becomes one of the forefronts, it becomes one of the frontiers of the new evangelization. We've got to go to where the church is, and if this is where young people are, we've got to do this. But once we reach them, the only way we communicate with them cannot be through technology.
Stacy, do you know God loves you and wants to save you? That he would die on the cross just for you? Well, I think that's a little bit different if I walk up to Stacy and say that than if I put it in a text message. We're losing the ability to connect with one another personally.
There's never a moment that we're out of touch with the world, that we're getting text messages or IMs or twitting or, posting to everything, that it does become a very good Lenten practice to look at the way we use electronic communication, and if it's too much, and maybe to cut back on it a little bit, to just allow more time for God, more time for prayer. Lent's a time about making space, and making a space for God, and being emptied so God can fill us.
I actually gave up Facebook for Lent. So I haven't been on it for several weeks now, and the first couple of days, it was like I was going through some withdrawal. I just had to check in all the time.
I found it to be a very helpful tool, but as it's grown in popularity, it's turned into almost a fungus of information, with people just saying what they're doing at every moment of the day. Like, I don't care if somebody is upset because it's raining outside.
I wanted to keep my promise, and I wanted to, during Lent, and I wanted to stay off it. So since then I've stayed off it, and I prayed, and I've been off it, and I can honestly say I don't miss it.
It's a nice feeling to not always be plugged in, and to allow a little bit of interior silence to happen. So I'll keep that going.
What we want to talk about tonight is really finding the balance so technology works for us, and yet we can be in touch with who we are, be in touch with one another, and most importantly, be in touch with God.
And see, you can even stay in touch with God on Facebook. I do understand definitely, people not being able to give up Facebook for Lent or whatever. But yeah, too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing. I'll tell you that right now too, because we do seem to be losing a little bit of that FaceTime, and that's never a good thing. Well, stay tuned. There's much more Currents ahead.